listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Hello, everyone. We hope you're having as good a day as we are. My name is Jerry Mitchell, your host for Give God 90. Back in the supervisor seat is Myra.
Hello, everyone.
And we're here. We are actually live on a Thursday evening in the Mid-Atlantic of the United States. But whenever, wherever you are, we hope your day is as good as ours. If you're new here, check us out at GiveGod90.com, see what we're all about. If you're coming back, you know the drill. If you like what you hear, hit those share buttons, hit the like buttons. Because if you like what you hear, chances are your family and friends will like it, and your enemies are going to need to hear it. We appreciate it when you hit those notifications, because that really does seem to somehow boost us up in all of the analytical stuff that they do to make it easier for people to find us. If you choose, you can comment. The chat room's open. If you're listening live, if you're listening later, I will find out about it. I'll get a notification. I will get notified that you wrote something, and I will check it out. Before I really get started in on what I want to talk about tonight, I want to share something that I found, and I am, if you listen to me for more than a few minutes, I like sarcasm. But I found this slightly hilariously interesting. And this comes from the Los Angeles Times. And it says that an influx of Californians and other Americans has made its way to Mexico City, angering some locals who say they are gentrifying the area. It basically means they're changing the culture. This is according to a report. Los Angeles Times report on Wednesday outlined how some Mexican locals are fed up with the growing number of Americans, many from California, moving to and visiting the country, which has contributed to a rise in rent and a shift from Spanish to English in some places. If you're new to the city, working remotely, flyers popping up around Mexico City reportedly said, "You're a plague." They're basically calling Americans a plague. They don't like it. It's changing their culture. And the reason I find this kind of interesting and a little bit funny is because I think this happens worldwide. Whenever one culture goes to another place and they begin introducing their customs and their language, the locals get angry. It's been happening in the United States. This is not a problem that is localized to the United States. It happens worldwide. And I think it displays something that we too often forget. And that is, we are not the only nation on the planet. And it doesn't matter what nation you live in. You're not the only one. Yours is not the only culture. Yours is not the only way that it does things. When somebody moves in and it upsets the status quo, you get upset. That's kind of normal because you're used to the way things are. And that's not always a bad thing, but every once in a while we need to be reminded there are other people around us who really are looking for something different. They're looking for something better. And hopefully that's why you are listening to us. I hope. I thought, this isn't a tit for tat kind of a thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is a worldwide, and I don't want to say problem, but it occurs worldwide. And it's something we need to be aware of, and especially be aware of it when you're visiting someplace new. If you move there for their culture or their customs, don't take most of the problems that you were trying to leave behind with you. if you're looking for a better relationship with your Creator, don't take those problems with you either. He will let you leave them where you were. Something else that's going to lead me into what I want to talk about was this article was published last week by Joanna, and if I mispronounce this name, I'm sorry. I believe it's pronounced Minecraft. She is a senior clinical lecturer of social psychiatry from ULC. And she writes that beginning in the 1960s, a theory about depression was the level of hormone serotonin. The chemical imbalance was theorized to cause depression, but after some 50-plus years of studies, we now know that the theory has been disproven by a lack of evidence. As she writes, and I'm going to read directly from the article now. Although first proposed in the 1960s, the serotonin theory of depression started to be widely promoted by the pharmaceutical industry in the 1990s, in association with its efforts to market a new range of antidepressants. Known as selective serotonin reuptake, boy, there's a mouthful. Known as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, the idea was also endorsed by official institutions such as the American Psychiatric Association, which, by the way, still tells the public that the difference in certain chemicals in the brain may contribute to symptoms of depression. I need to stop here and point out the word may. In other words, they're not sure. They don't know. That's one of those key words you look for in articles like this, are words that indicate they really have no clue. Back to the article. Countless doctors have repeated a message all over the world, in their private surgeries and in the media. People accepted what they were told, and many started taking antidepressants because they believed they had something wrong with their brain that required an antidepressant to put it right. I'm not going to read the whole article, but she summarizes it in this short paragraph. The serotonin theory of depression has been one of the most influential and extensively researched biological theories of the origins of depression. Our study shows that this view is not supported by scientific evidence. It also calls into question the basis for the use of antidepressants. Okay. Now, she doesn't offer any real solutions for depression, but I think I know who does, right? I think that our Creator has a very good way to cure depressions. And part of it's found in Deuteronomy 14:40. Obey his laws and commands that I'm giving you today. Obey them so that things will go well for you and for your children. Can I express that or emphasize that enough? Obey his laws and commands that I'm giving you today. Obey them so that things will go well for you and for your children. Then you will live a long time in the land that the Lord your God is giving you forever. See, when children are brought up in a home that has no compass of conscience, they have no hope. A home without hope is absolutely depressing. A home where the parent or parents is consistently complaining, maybe they're consistently worried, or just consistently negative, is passed on to the children, and they feel the effects of that for many, many years. Now, we can talk about nurture versus nature, right? That debate claims that children will naturally inherit the troubles of parents. If the parents have health issues, the child is going to inherit the same diseases. And it's partially true, but not necessarily from inheriting genes that cause the disease. the reason a child will develop the same problems with a parent is because they are taught how to develop a disease, right? They're taught a certain lifestyle. Well, just look around us. We can see families who have health issues, right? Their children have the same health issues. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's going to be heart disease, diabetes, cancer, those kind of things. If you are living an unhealthy lifestyle and your children are brought up in that unhealthy lifestyle, well, what have you taught your children? Now, there are some health issues that our children are actually born with. Celiac disease, for instance, is where the person can't eat gluten without discomfort, or worse, and that's something that people are actually born with. There is a theory, and again, this is a theory, that it can be developed through pregnancy or other means, but that's not been proven yet. Now, her daughter, she was always kind of thin. After her first pregnancy, they think is when she developed this gluten allergy. But looking back, I think she had it all along, right?
Right.
So is it any wonder that after some life-changing event that they're going to look at that and say, were you fine before? Well, she thought she was, right? She thought she was healthy before that. She just figured everybody had an upset stomach all the time.
Right.
But that's not the way it is. She was born with it. However, nurture or exposing children to either positive or negative emotions, teaching children to read at an early age, exposing children to educational disciplines and offering them hope, and offering them the trust that our Creator has. It's probably one of the most important things that a parent can do to ensure they're going to be healthy and emotionally sound. Making sure they're taught the instructions that our Creator gives us is absolutely vital to making certain they're not only healthy and happy, but they're able to make wise decisions and ready to interact well with the people around them. I ought to write that in a book somewhere. Never mind. Offering children an opportunity to live the way they're designed to live by being their example through the actions that parents or caregivers or guardians, custodians are living, that's probably the best way that we can actually promote any health or emotional issues in our children. So I think that we can conclude from that our Creator provides a way for parents to raise children that ensures they will be healthy and happy. Now, I was raised in a Christian family. You were raised in a Christian family, Myra. But if we would have known 40-some years ago what we know right now, would we be healthier?
Definitely.
Absolutely. I don't know if we'd be any happier. But,
probably not.
I mean,
I think we do pretty good.
I think so. So, you can see that there are, even though parents have very, very good intentions, if they would learn to do things the way our Creator designed us to do them, we could really, in about one generation, turn this world around. That I know that, but I also know that it's probably not going to happen for everyone. And that kind of brings me into what I really want to look at. Our Creator provides for us. And how does He do that? Well, let's start at the beginning. Let's go back to Genesis. If you want to read that portion of Genesis for us.
God said, "Look, I have given you all the plants that have grain for seed, and I have given you all the trees whose fruits have seeds in them. They will be food for you. I have given all the green plants to the animals to eat. They will be food for every wild animal, every bird of the air, and every small crawling animal. And it happened. God looked at everything he had made, and it was very good. Evening passed, and morning came. This was the sixth day. Genesis 1:29 through 31.
Now, I want to make sure that nobody thinks I'm promoting vegetarianism or veganism here. You know, we're given the ability to eat meat later in chapter 9 of Genesis. Up until then, everything was vegetarian. After that is when we're given the, I don't want to say authority, that's not the right word. We're given permission. We were given permission. And not only were we given permission, but the other animals were given permission. That's why the animals are now afraid of people. Because up until that time, they all got along. But food's not the only thing that our Creator provides. You know, He designed a world that didn't need anything other than His care. But Adam and his wife rejected that when they ate the fruit. So, the cursed earth would require something the perfect world didn't require. Energy. Our energy. Adam was going to have to work. He would need to work for his food. He would need to work for his clothing. He would need to work for his shelter. He would need to work to stay warm. He would need to work for everything. Prior to that, it was all provided. Adam had what our Creator gave him. But not like in the garden where they were just able to pick a ripe fruit whenever they needed it. Now, he had to take the provisions that were given to him, and he had to work for them. He just couldn't pick it up and eat anymore. He wasn't comfortable anymore. He wasn't as safe anymore. Remember that after they ate, now the world would be cursed with thorns and briars and brambles, things that would stick you and sting you. Right? He had to work to avoid those things as well. Food would need to be harvested and cooked. Well, wait a minute, that means fire, right? The wood for the fires were the first fuels we used as energy to cook, to heat, and later to melt soft metals. As civilization progressed, other fuels were used. Animal dung was used for fuel, as well as human dung, and you can find that in Ezekiel chapter 4 if you're curious. Later, mankind was able to find other sources of energy to heat and cook with. In the last few decades, we've developed the ability to use oil that's found in the earth and even radioactive particles that were previously misunderstood. Now, oil is something I want to talk about because it's on a lot of people's minds around the world right now. Oil's been called fossil fuel originally not because they thought it came from dead dinosaurs, but because most of the early oil deposits were found in what scientists called the fossil layer in the Earth's crust. Now, back during the energy crisis in the 1970s, some of us can still remember that, many people were misled to think that all the world's oil was the result of the destruction of the dinosaurs 85 million years ago. And because there were only so many dinosaurs available, it would eventually run out. Now, anybody who actually thought about that should have questioned how many dinosaurs were needed to produce the millions of barrels of oil already that had been pumped out of the earth. Well, believers should have been on the forefront of that argument, because they should have been out there screaming and yelling, it's impossible because the earth is very young. It's only about 6,000 years old. And today we know that the oil we're pumping didn't come from dead dinosaurs. Well, maybe a little bit of it did, but it actually comes from the tons of organic matter that have been buried since the flood. If you'd like to read about the organic material.
And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed in itself was after its kind. And God saw that it was good. Genesis 1:11 and 12.
This created substantial source of energy would eventually fuel a future world. And it's described right here in Genesis. Plants of various kinds are mentioned over 1,000 times in the Bible. Do you think they're important? Well, of course they're important. You know, their food, their medicine, their clothing, their energy, all of those things. Our Creator provides for us, but we need to work with those provisions. It's not a handout on this cursed earth like it was in the garden. You know, in Genesis 3:19, Adam is told that by the sweat of your face you will eat bread. He would work using the things that our Creator would provide. The plants that we use for medicine have to be harvested. Most need to be prepared in some way, whether you're rendering them down for oil or whether you're doing the mortar and pestle thing after they're dried out, you know, to get the powder to mix with other things. You have to work for it. The plants we use for clothing, well, they have to be harvested. They have to be prepared for the looms that weave the fabric. The fabric needs to be sewn into clothing we wear. All of this requires energy. But our Creator provides that in various forms. What does it take for plants to grow? Well, you have to have dirt, you have to have sunshine, you have to have rain. Who provides those things? Our Creator provides those things. You know, this isn't rocket science. This is Genesis chapter 1, okay? He created the earth, he created the plants, he designed them to reproduce, he provides the sun. Although if you're reading carefully in Genesis chapter 1, you realize that first day they were growing without sun. All they had was his light. Right? Just saying. And he created rain. And we are to thank him for the rain that he has provided in the past, including those 40 days and 40 nights that it rained to cause the flood, or that helped to cause the flood. And we're supposed to ask for rain. You know, Zechariah 10:1 says, "Ask the Lord for rain in time of the latter rain, so the Lord shall make bright clouds and give them showers of rain to every one grass in the field." And that brings up the most important thing our Creator provides for us, and that is a way to communicate directly with him. Ask him for rain. Ask him for rain when it's needed. Don't just assume that it's going to come. And it's not just rain. When there's healing needed, ask. When there's understanding needed, ask. When there is repentance needed, ask. And he will be faithful and just, and faithful and just and righteous and all those other things that he is. Right? And you know, hopefully, what will happen. Now, there's an interesting verse. But think about this. When the righteous need rain, they're going to pray, they're going to ask. And when it rains, does it rain just in that little place where maybe the righteous people have their crops planted? Well, no, it rains across a much wider stretch, which is why it's said that the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. So for years, rain has been used as a way that the Almighty expresses His care for us, right? When the believer needs healing, he may receive healing for themselves or from somebody else. But I want you to think about this. There may be people standing around watching this. And when they see what's going on, they might not recognize it. They might even reject it. But they're being exposed to the glory of the Almighty right there. In that moment, in that time. When the righteous man prays for rain and it rains on the sinner, on the unjust, on the unrighteous, on the rebellious, on those who reject our Creator. But that rain is His glory coming down. And by the way, I'm going to be teaching on the former and latter-day rain tomorrow night for Messianic Delaware. If you're interested, see the MessianicDelaware.com website, and it will show you how to get into the Zoom meeting that I'll be teaching on that. The times, all that good stuff, it's on there. Or you can wait until next week, and you can watch the Zoom video. Carl usually has those put out usually by Monday or Tuesday. So it'll be out there, along with, I believe it's a PDF that he provides of the PowerPoint slides that I use. And it's right there on Messianic Delaware's teaching page. Our Creator provides us a way to learn about His sacred word, but we actually have to work for that too. We either need to study it for ourselves, we need to find a way to hear it, either going and listening for it or tuning into a podcast like this one, hopefully, or finding someone that is hopefully worthwhile listening to, that's not going to be begging for money every 2 seconds, somebody who is actually going to give you the words that you need to hear, not the words you want to hear. But we need to figure out a way to interact with those who do that, those who teach. But even these things are provided for us if we're willing to accept these things and take advantage of them. Everything we need, our Creator provides. But we must be willing to work for it. We must also be willing to use His provisions wisely. You can abuse anything. I look around at some of the worship communities I see today, and yes, you can abuse religion. We have to be willing to be obedient in order for us to teach our children how to live a happy, healthy, and long life. We've got to be able and willing to hear His voice, obey His commands, and then He will continue to provide for us. Abraham understood this. Almost 4,000 years ago now, Abraham, he figured it out. In Genesis 22, the ram was provided to take the place of Isaac. And Abraham, he got it. He understood. He trusted. He was faithful, and he got it. And he named that place Yehovah Yireh. Now, if you look at the King James Bible, you're going to see it looks like Jehovah Jireh. Okay? That's probably as close as they could spell it. If you're interested, that's in Genesis 22:14. But that means Jehovah provides. Way back then, Abraham understood that whatever he needed, whenever he needed it, all he had to do was ask. Moses was able to do the same thing. When we trust our Creator for everything we need, and we use His provisions wisely, He will have the hope in our homes. He's going to put that hope in our homes that's going to nurture our young people properly. We can break the generations of curses that have plagued families. whether that has been health issues or emotional issues, they can be broken. And it's not that difficult. You just have to be willing to work at it. We need to expend energy. You have to work. You have to burn some calories. We can't just sit back and expect our Creator to shove food in our mouth, wrap us in a blanket when we're cold, or turn down the thermostat when we're hot. It is us who must work. It is us who needs to learn how to live the way we are actually designed to live. And that begins by trusting our Creator and trusting that He will continue to provide for us. It might not be the way we think. It might not be the way we want. But He will provide. And He will continue to provide. If you need some help with figuring out what you need to do to repent, if you need some help figuring out what you need to do after you repent, go ahead and go to GiveGod90.com and check it out. It begins with communication. Okay, I'm not going to pull any punches there. You have to open your mouth and speak with your Creator. Did you have anything you wanted to add to all of that?
Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you on Monday, and our Creator is our true provider.
Absolutely. Until Monday, everyone, we wish you many, many blessings.